Hi, I'm Ronan Farrow. I'm Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton's advisor on global youth issues and the director of the State Department's Office of Global Youth Issues. And I have been traveling around the Middle East and North Africa, hearing from young people about what challenges they face and what their ideas for solutions are. That's part of a larger initiative around the world that Secretary Clinton just announced yesterday in a speech, where we are committing to bringing young people to the table in everything we do and responding to their needs in everything we do. So while I was here in Algeria, I've launched a youth advisory council with the team here at the Algerian embassy, like my colleague Tashana, who's here with me. And as follow-on to that, we're going to continue the dialogue virtually. So we took questions both from here in Algeria and around the world, and I'm going to answer some of those. Tashana, take it away.
Okay, so our first question is from Facebook, from Imen M.A. She wants to know, how can we motivate youth in developing countries to be catalysts for positive change in their community?
It's a really good question. Thank you, Imen. I would say that the duty to motivate youth falls on all parties involved. It needs to come from governments who have a key responsibility to create the space for young entrepreneurs to have access to capital, for private sector institutions to invest and create jobs, and for young people to be able to make their voices heard freely in political processes. And my bilateral discussions with the Algerian government have been focused on exactly that. It also falls to businesses that can create a lot of those job opportunities. And around the region, we've assembled business leaders. We have a partnership that's called NAPEO, for Partnership for Economic Opportunity, and that is linking business leaders here in North Africa with young people across North Africa to give them the skills they need to start their own initiatives. Similarly, it falls to young people ourselves. You know, for you and me and anyone else who seeks to make their voices heard in their communities, I would say it's your responsibility to rise to that challenge and to not lose hope, no matter what obstacles you face. So I've been very inspired by the young people I've talked to here in Algeria that are doing just that.
Okay. We have another question from Facebook. Aziza Ben. She says, I want to ask this handsome man about the plain steps that lead me to pursue a PhD in the United States.
Well, first of all, thank you for that, Aziza. It's been a long day. I needed that. Second of all, we welcome more study in the U.S., especially from young Algerians. We actually, while I was here, launched our new United States Educational Opportunity Drive, and that is aimed at doubling the number of young Algerians that come to the United States for studying, for internships, for exchanges over the next year. So stay tuned for a lot of activity that gets word out about what the opportunities are in the United States and how to access them. We do have a lot of existing programs that specifically could allow one to pursue a PhD. For instance, our Fulbright program is well regarded and well established. You may have heard of it. And you can find more information about how to apply for that at algiers.usembassy.gov.
Our next question comes from Twitter. Tizano wants to know, how can you inspire the Algerian youth?
I would say, first of all, to know that Algeria is at a turning point where I sense genuine optimism and hope that young people can make their voices heard in a peaceful and productive way. And that's coming from both the young people I talk to who are committed to building solutions and from the government, which in my conversations with them has expressed a lot of optimism too, and I do believe that we could see this coming parliamentary election as a turning point in which young people really are brought to the fore and not silenced. That, however, will be incumbent on the young people here on the ground. And in confronting that, I would say don't let age be a deterrent. Make sure that no matter who would seek to disregard you, you make your voices heard loud and clear, and hopefully in an organized way that builds sustainable institutions and sustainable progress in the democratic process. So that's something I'll be watching very closely, but I really do leave Algeria with a tremendous sense of optimism.
Our next question is from New Skimmer from Twitter. The question is, what do Americans want from Algeria?
It's a very good question, New Skimmer. Historically, obviously, the world has had a narrative about that. The assumption has been that we have a close partnership on security issues with the Algerian government and on a host of other issues where we share goals. That is certainly the case, and one of the things that Secretary Clinton came to this country in the last few days to advance is our broader partnership with the Algerian government. But it's also true that at the same time, she sat down with the Algerian people, with civil society leaders, and she sent me as follow-on to sit down with young civil society leaders. So as we deepen and broaden our connection with the Algerian government, we're also deepening our connection with the Algerian people, and that is deeply important because we believe that if we want to see a more stable, more prosperous Algeria, if we want to see progress following on this coming election cycle, young people are going to be at the heart of that. And the relationship between the American people and the Algerian people is going to be at the heart of driving that progress. So I would say what we want is to see all of you, young men and women in Algeria, empowered to fulfill your God-given potential. And we want to stand by you as you do that.
The next question comes from Leonel Badal, also from Twitter. With high levels of unemployment and corruption, what would you advise young Algerians to do? Revolt or emigrate?
This is an important question because all around the world I see examples of young people faced with very tough challenges who leave their homelands to find greater opportunity. And that is something that I can't judge people for. But at the same time, everywhere I go, I also see examples of young people who either stay to invest in building lasting institutions in their home communities or go abroad, seek opportunity, and then come back and pay forward those opportunities in improving the place that they came from. And here in Algeria, I've seen some inspiring examples of that. There's a young man named Shmail who we work with who now goes between Algeria and Germany, but even though he has traveled the world as a young entrepreneur because he built the country's first SMS platform for marketing, he has chosen to spend half of his time here and continue to come back and to pay forward that success in leading in the Algerian business community. So that's exactly the type of example of a young entrepreneur really investing in the future of Algeria. And I hope we can see more stories like that. Certainly, as I've been here launching our first youth council of local advisors to help steer our engagement in the country, I've seen a whole range of stories that give me great hope that young Algerians will make sure that whatever the tools they acquire, they give back so that we can all see a brighter and, as I said, I think vibrant and prosperous Algeria.
Also from Twitter, Rory. Rory would like to know, what's the best way to stand out among other Foreign Service officer applicants?
So I should probably defer to my Foreign Service friends here, like Tashana. The thing that I hear most from Foreign Service officers is languages are a big boon. Obviously, one of the things that's compelling about the Foreign Service career is the government will provide language training, but they want to see early on that you have an affinity towards language, that you have an interest in language. Similarly, I think international experience and engagement is important, and I also think passion carries far. And one of the things that's very cool in this job is working with teams around the world that are so passionate, so invested in the communities that they work with. So I certainly think, if you can show a little sliver of the passion that Tashana shows,
thank you.
You'll be well off.
Thank you. Okay, our last question is a Twitter question from Kelly Cosby. She wants to know, what's a common concern or idea you've heard from many youth from around the world?
Well, Kelly, it's true that everywhere I go, I see young people faced with disparate challenges that look very different on the ground. But at the same time, I've talked to young people everywhere who share some basic aspirations. They want a job to support themselves and their families. They want a voice in the fate of their countries and communities. And those aspirations are driving both progress everywhere and also driving some of the potential challenges we all face in terms of security and in terms of economic progress when young people denied those opportunities are left frustrated and out of work. So because those aspirations are shared and those challenges are shared, it is, I think, entirely fitting that we've launched a focus on youth that does revolve around those two pillars. And the response to those calls looks different depending on what country you're in. But again, the core drive towards economic opportunity and engagement will be true, I think, around the world.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.